As you may have guessed by my name, I have been a Beast Wars fan ever since day one. I may have been exposed to Transformers a little bit before that, but Beast Wars was what really got me into Transformers, and made me a lifelong fan. So you can imagine how excited I was when they finally announced that after many years, Beast Wars would finally get its own ongoing comic book series. It's been long overdue if you ask me. And it's also been a long time since I did a comic book review. But you know what? I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to get back into it. So, may I present to you my review of Transformers Beast Wars, Issue 1. Now, if you're familiar with Beast Wars and its extended fiction, this first issue of the series will not hold any big surprises for you. Megatron and his rogue Predacons steal the Golden Disc and the Darkseid Transwarp warship. Optimus Primal and his skeleton crew of Maximals are on an exploration mission when they are asked to intercept them. They pursue them through space and time, and they both crash on prehistoric Earth and adopt their new beast modes. And that's basically issue 1. Now, there are some differences from this comic and the previous original cartoon and ancillary BotCon fiction. One is that, unlike the BotCon story, Karltech does not play a part in the theft of the Golden Disc. At least not that we know of yet. He is neither seen nor mentioned in this issue. Who we do see instead is the Predacon Council, who Megatron just seems to call up either just to gloat, or to give us longtime fans an Easter egg. Which brings up another thing. In the original cartoon, it was said that Megatron was not Megatron's original name. He renamed himself after the G1 Decepticon leader. And we've been given one original name before, that of Gnash Teeth, again through BotCon fiction. But here we're told that Megatron's original name was Galavar, which sounds like a bad hand of Scrabble letters. I'm not really a fan of it. It's somehow worse than Gnash Teeth. Honestly, I think it's better to just leave his original name a mystery. They should have made his name redacted in the comic, or just avoided calling him by it to begin with. It's like how you don't know the Doctor's real name from Doctor Who. Knowing it just takes away the mystique. Another difference in this comic versus the cartoon is the inclusion of 2 brand new female characters into the story. First, we have the Maximals pilot, Nyx, who's based on the Bat Primal figure and whose name is inspired by the BotCon exclusive repaint of that figure, Onyx Primal. See? She's Onyx without the O. She seems fine so far. She gets a little back and forth with Rat Trap in this issue, but from what I've read in the interview pages at the end of the comic, it seems that she will have a lot more interesting character development with someone else very soon. Then we have the new Predacon Scold, who is kind of a fusion of the non-show character Snapper and Beast Machine Strika. She only gets a couple lines in this issue, but again, according to the interview with Eric Burnham, she is supposed to start out kind of shy, but later on, she apparently comes out of her shell, as he put it. Again, this only being the first issue, I haven't seen enough of them yet to judge whether I like them or not. But I am happy to see more female bots in the story. Another small difference in this comic is that the Maximals apparently have a gym on the Axelon, which they didn't have in the show, at least not that we were shown. To make another Doctor Who analogy, the actual volume of the ship was always kind of TARDIS-like in the show. From the outside, it looked much smaller, but on the inside, it seemed bigger. So who knows? They could have had a gym, I guess. One weird bit in here, though, that stuck out to me was how Rhinox refers to Optimus as Primal. I don't think this fits with his character. In the show, I'm pretty sure he always referred to him by his first name. Rhinox was always so warm and friendly. You know, when he wasn't turned evil. Optimus Primal is just Optimus to his friends. Primal sounds more like what Megatron would tend to call him. So that kind of stuck out to me when Rhinox was calling him by his last name. But who knows? Maybe he was just trying to be respectful to his new captain. Which is another thing. Apparently Optimus is a captain in this comic, not a commander like in the cartoon.
You sure you cut out for this commander gig?
Again, it's a small difference, but it's something I noticed. Oh, and going back to interiors for a second, I noticed that the Axelon and the Darkside's command bridges are not laid out the same way that they are in the show. Here, the Axelon is laid out more like the Enterprise from Star Trek, with Primal even having his own captain's chair. And the Darkside is more like an Imperial Star Destroyer from Star Wars, with most of the crew stations being below the floor and Megatron standing above them like a Sith Lord. They're cute little homages to other sci-fi franchises, but I kind of miss the old layouts, especially the map table thing that the Maximals had in the show. There were so many episodes where you'd see them crowded around it. It's almost like it was another character in the show. I mean, it kind of was, because half the time, this is where they were when they were talking to the ship's computer, Sentinel. Another small difference I noticed is that here, the Maximals and Predacons are in stasis lock as they are being reformatted into their beast modes, whereas in the show, they were conscious. Here, it's much more like the original G1 cartoon, where the Autobots and Decepticons were being put back together and given their new Earth forms by Teletran 1. I will say though that I like that Waspinator was busted into pieces, much like how Waspinator in the show would often get blown apart and then had to be put back together. One minor complaint I had with the beginning of this issue though was that I initially didn't recognize some of the characters in their Cybertronian forms, like Scorponok for example. But I think that's only because I was reading this issue so fast the first time that I missed him hanging from the ceiling in this previous panel. Of course, I should have recognized him from his claws and his big feet, but you don't see those in this other panel. Another one I didn't initially recognize was Tarantulas. At first, I thought he was another new original character, much like how in the Bakon Theft of the Golden Disc animated short, they put a bunch of original characters that weren't part of the show's Predacon crew. On the other hand, I think that this Maximal here is supposed to be Under 3, or Unit 3, who was originally a McDonald's toy and would later become one of the last Bakon exclusive souvenir figures. I also didn't notice until I was looking at the last few pages of this comic, where they have these size charts, that Rhinox and Rat Trap are actually based on their old Bakon exclusive toys, which were repaints of Cybertron toys. But Cheetor, instead of being based on his actual pre-Earth Bakon toy, which was a repaint of Clocker, here he's actually based on the Hotshot or Excellion mold, which I think is kind of cool. I was wondering why he had that Hotshot style visor on his head. Again, maybe I should be looking at the actual art in these panels more, and not just reading through all the speech balloons as fast as I can. Overall, I loved this first issue. The writing was very solid, even though I do wish we did get a few classic lines in here. Like when they were preparing to follow Megatron through space and time, I would have thought that Rattrap would have said his famous line, "We're all gonna die!" But no, they didn't do that. Maybe they're saving it for later on. Also, Tarantulas mentions Unspace when using the Transwarp drive. It's a little weird seeing a new concept like Unspace being retconned into Beast Wars, but it's kinda cool, I guess. So, are they making Unspace into kind of like the Transformers version of the Quantum Realm from Avengers Endgame? Not only can you use it to travel great distances instantly, but you can also use it to travel through time as well. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Well, I think I've gone on long enough. Honestly, there's so much more I could talk about this first issue, but I'm not here to spoil the whole thing for you. I want you to go and buy this comic for yourselves and read it. Support IDW and the people who are working on this great book. And then join me back here every week where I will be reviewing every issue of this exciting series. So, if you picked up this first issue of Transformers Beast Wars, which is another thing, shouldn't it be Beast Wars Transformers? Oh well. If you picked up this first issue of Beast Wars, let me know down in the comments what you thought of it. Remember to like, subscribe, and do all that other fun stuff. And assuming this video does well, and assuming IDW doesn't come knocking with some kind of copyright claim, I'll see you next week, I think. I don't know how comic books work. For the next issue of Beast Wars. It's so awesome to be able to say that.